So here's my first test piece, and I think it came out pretty well. I used an all black gloss paint. You can just barely see the Textreme at 45 degrees there. So that went well. It's really it feels really strong. I can't really press down or get any kind of give at all to it, so it seems really strong. I think the things that I have to work on are getting the Mylars to be cut exactly the right size. I think there's too much on the trailing edge here that's sticking out. It looks like maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 millimeters after the edge of the foam. You can also see it's bent down a little bit because I think one of the Mylars was bigger than the other. And so that sort of forced it down. There's a little bit of lip there. I'm assuming I can just sand that off there. I don't know the best way to trim up the leading edge, or sorry, the trailing edge. The other part, so there's a little bit of lip here, and I'm hoping that carbon fiber sands okay on my disc sander. The thing that I'm really worried about is the leading edge here. So what I tried to do was I tried to get the leading edge to have them just meet by taping them, but I think what happened was that the whole foam kind of slid backwards, and so you can see that there's probably a good, I don't know, 3-4 millimeters here between the end of the foam and the point of the leading edge, and the leading edge is probably also lower than the foam center, so that's an issue. I think what I'm going to have to do is lay the Mylars down and then tape them after they're in place and get them to just sit back even a little bit so there's a gap if necessary, and then just let that gap be filled with maybe the epoxy or the fiberglass will show through and I can just darken it later on. So here you can maybe see a little bit better there. The problem with the leading edge. Other than that, it seems like a pretty straightforward process. It's a pain to let it go for 12 hours because it's not. It's hard to find a 12-hour period where I can actually monitor it during the week. And it also, I think, probably had a little bit too much epoxy in here. It's probably a little bit too deep, too thick. I had problems when I was doing the Textreme, when I was using the seam roller here to do the to really push down on the seam roller on the Textreme. The edge of it started fraying off. You can see little pieces right here that started to fray off at the edge. So I think what I'm going to do is next time cut the Textreme a little bit bigger, just like around this, and then also the 3/4 ounce fiberglass, and then wet it out on the Mylars. It'll stick to the table here, and then do what Phil Barnes does, which is right before you move it to the foam, you take a razor blade and just go along the edges of the Mylar and then pick that up. So I think I'll try that next time, and hopefully that'll keep the edges of the Textreme from fraying, because I made it just the right size for the Mylars, and that was a mistake. It will use up more Textreme, which is kind of expensive, but I think that's the price of this. I think maybe the only thing I don't really like, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it here, but there's a little bit of texture where you can see the shining through the fiberglass bubbles are shining through, and what that meant was I didn't wet out the fiberglass enough when I was doing this. My epoxy ended up, so one of the mistakes I made was I used a hot plate here to keep the epoxy warm, but the net result was that the section that wasn't, I had 2 batches actually, and the portion that was in here, it was only about 87 degrees Fahrenheit, but it kicked off too fast, and so that was another learning experience for me. So I think that I'm close to having a production technique that I like. I'll do another section in a day or so, another test to make sure that it's going okay, and then I may end up adding some color to this, because the black, I like the black, but it's a little bit, it would have been nice to see the Textreme sort of shining through more. This isn't bad, and I like all the all black because it will look like a bird in the air, but it would be nice to have some texture.